In the Impact segment tonight, the standoff with North Korea. The United States is bracing for a possible nuclear test by the rogue state. And military tensions are escalating to dangerous levels. Joining us now from D.C. with the latest, our own rogue Fox News chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen. So, James, are we about to go to war with Captain Crazy Pants, who I'm referring to, obviously, the punky pantsuit in North Korea?
Likely not.
No?
But what we're seeing really is the Trump administration trying to send a message to North Korea and also to its patron state in China that business as usual can't go on like this any longer. They've been testing nuclear devices for over 10 years in North Korea. Some 2 million people have starved to death in that country to fund this program. And they have this extraordinary ballistic missile inventory which they keep testing. And our allies in that region, Japan, South Korea, others, are very anxious about it. But I think that President Trump and his national security team know very well that unilateral U.S. military action against some facilities in North Korea or anywhere on North Korean soil would present a very different case for retaliation from the target than we saw from Syria, where the retaliation was zero. They would probably escalate this very swiftly in North Korea and put at danger potentially tens of thousands of citizens in Seoul, South Korea.
Is it just me thinking that it's suddenly heating up, or is this some kind of ritual that happens with every new president that North Korea just pops up within 3 to 6 months? But it feels like, for some reason, this is hotter.
It is, because North Korea's progress on the nuclear path has been slow but steady. And it's already considered that they potentially have the ability to outfit a missile, a medium-range ballistic missile, with a nuclear warhead that could potentially strike Japan or South Korea, and that they're working on longer-range ballistic missiles and being able to miniaturize the nuclear warhead so that they could strike the continental United States. This is not sci-fi scenario stuff. They have been making steady progress, and so it is hotter now for that reason. But there's been a policy review underway in the Trump administration, and according to published reports, that review basically comes down on the side of saying, let's try to pressure North Korea more and get China more involved in doing that, but no engagement with that regime right now, and no military option either.
You know, I keep thinking, where is Dennis Rodman? Here's a guy who knows Donald Trump from Celebrity Apprentice and also visited North Korea and chummed it up with the portly nutbag. Seems like maybe he could be the bridge.
Yeah, this is the kind of creative diplomacy that people at the State Department have recognized that Greg Gutfeld exhibits for years now.
Yes.
Here's my solution,
right,
honestly, to keep it quick. It has to be regime change.
Right.
And so an obese young man known for an unhealthy lifestyle and subjected to great stress of leadership one day fails to awaken in his bed, and before most North Koreans can even absorb that news, a new ruler who has no ties to the Kim family, but who has all the right impeccable credentials with the North Korean military and the Communist Party, is effectively installed after having been vetted properly by the Chinese government. And he promises to carry on the good and glorious work of the Kim family, but while improving the lives of ordinary North Koreans. And eventually the Chinese come and visit that ruler. Legitimacy is conferred on the regime thereby. And slowly, after what we would call a decent interval, this regime starts to liberalize the market and the political freedoms in that country and start to make moves to join the world economy again, sort of the way China did it in the 1970s.
That's a long list of dreams. I wish that would be the case, but I don't know. We haven't seen it for decades. All right, James, thank you so much. We now go to
Greg.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, for his take on where we go from here. He joins us from Washington. It's good to see you, Ambassador. What is your take on the events, and what advice would you give the administration?
Well, I don't think a strategy that relies on pressuring North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons is going to work. Look, we've tried for 25 years across Republican and Democratic administrations to persuade the North Koreans to give up their quest for nuclear weapons. We've tried persuasion, it's failed. We've tried coercion, it's failed. Because the fact is, this regime is never voluntarily going to give up nuclear weapons. They're the ace in the hole. This is the regime's insurance of its long-term viability. And a simple pressure they've resisted, and beyond that, the only country that can put effective pressure on them is China, which understands very well how fragile this regime is, and China fears if it puts too much pressure on, the regime will collapse. That's actually what our objective should be, and what we need to do is explain to China that it's in their interest, despite years of policy to the contrary, it's in their interest to see North and South Korea reunited in a sensible way. That would end the North Korean nuclear weapons program, and in my view, that's the only way it's going to happen.
Are you optimistic at all about this? I mean, do you see, when I saw Donald Trump meeting with the Chinese Prime Minister, I was thinking possibly maybe something could happen. There could be a deal made. What do you think?
No, look, the Chinese have been, I'll be polite, schizophrenic about this for 25 years. They say, oh, we don't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons, but they have not done one thing that's materially impeded North Korea from achieving that. And we have reporting today in the media that China's been much more supportive of North Korea's ballistic missile program than we had known before, from fragments of a missile that went down in the East China Sea. So there's a lot of information that shows how connected China has been. And the only way to affect that, really, is to convince them that a reunited Korea will not have American troops on the Yalu River looking across into China. It happens, we don't want to be on the Yalu River anyway. There's a deal here, but we don't have much time. And one of the reasons that we're, I think, so pressed now is after 8 years of the Obama policy of strategic patience, which is really a synonym for doing nothing, North Korea's capabilities worldwide are much greater. And let me just add one other point. When North Korea gets the capability to drop an ICBM with a nuclear warhead on the United States, Iran will have it the next day for the right price.
It seems that every president inherits the crazy ant in the attic, which is North Korea. Could Trump actually try a different approach? I mean, is it possible that we can finally deal with the ant and have her committed?
Well, you know, your suggestion was that Dennis Rodman go to North Korea. Maybe I should go with Dennis. Let's see what we can work out here. I mean, honestly, think about this regime. It's the world's only hereditary communist dictatorship. 25 million people in North Korea live in a vast prison camp. In the 1990s, the population began to starve. There was a depopulation of the cities as people left to go to stay with friends and relatives in the countryside where at least there was food, and yet the regime stays in power. They are devoted, obviously, to that. That's why I say this nuclear capability is their ultimate insurance policy. They're not going to give it up because they know if they did, it'd be the end of the regime.
Well, yeah, Ambassador, you bring up a great point. The person that solves this problem actually solves an amazing humanitarian issue. You've got 25 million people in prison. I mean, if a president or someone can solve that problem, I think that's a Nobel Prize. I might be, you know what? I think it might be. Don't you think?
Look, there's a famous map of the Korean peninsula at night that shows the lights of the cities of South Korea. You can see the entire southern half of the peninsula. Right. The north is completely dark. It's like it's part of the seas on either side of the Korean peninsula. It is a humanitarian disaster. That's why the only solution here that will work is reuniting the two Koreas peacefully.
All right, Ambassador, thank you so much.